Hello guys, welcome to my channel, and in this video we will be discussing about the important skills that any project manager must have. So there are various skills the project managers must have in order to manage their projects effectively, and one of the most important skill that is the communication skill. And we will discuss that what it takes to manage any project as far as the communication is concerned. Communication has many aspects. So a project manager may be communicating within his or her team members. Project managers will be communicating outside the project team to the senior stakeholders. Project managers may be communicating external to the organization, to the client side, to the government organizations, different other stakeholders. Then within the communication, there are various types of communication. For example, they may be communicating the daily performances about the project. They may be communicating the weekly review reports. Then communication is not just reporting the information or communicating any type of information to the stakeholder. Communication is a two-way factor. So I believe apart from communicating the data, communicating the reports to different stakeholders, communication is extremely important within your own team members as well, especially when you are planning your project, when you are executing the project. Because as a project manager, you cannot just sit alone in your office and start to plan your project based on the requirements. You must have to communicate your thoughts, you must have to communicate your plans with the project team. And also it is very important to get back the feedback from the team members, especially your project management people, your technical experts, your subject matter experts. So it is extremely important to receive their feedback, analyze their feedback, and then return the feedback based on their analysis. Some project managers by nature, they are not that much talkative. They don't talk a lot with other people. They are very introverts. They are not feeling that much comfortable while communicating with other people, or they don't feel very much comfortable talking to audiences, talking to stakeholders. So this is just in their nature, but that is not something very good for their job. That is not something good for the project. So as a project manager, although it is not part of your nature to talk a lot or to engage with different people, but just for the sake of the project, you will have to get rid of this thing. You must have to communicate with all other different stakeholders. You should feel comfortable in weekly review meetings. You should be willing to communicate with other people. You should be willing to exchange ideas about the project, especially when the project is at the beginning stage, when you are collecting the requirements from the stakeholders. So it is very important to communicate whatever you have received from the stakeholders to your team members, and then also to communicate that whatever you have understood based on the requirements back to the stakeholders, in order to make sure that you and the stakeholders, you and the client, you both are on the same page. So again, communication is not just reporting the data, preparing different reports, or sending the reports. It is all about exchange of ideas. You must have to exchange your ideas with your team members, with the client, with the different stakeholders. And as a project manager, especially during the execution or during the monitoring and controlling phase, whenever you feel that there is something wrong in the project, or if you have forecasted that the project may not go as planned, so you must communicate that information straight away to the concerned stakeholders. Then talking of communication, there are various types of communication. So there is a verbal communication, which is as you are speaking with different stakeholders. Then there is the non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication, that includes your body language, pitch, and the tone of your voice. Then there is the written communication. So you're writing an email or different letter or any note. So all that will be included in the written communication. For various types of communication, verbal, non-verbal, and the written communication, non-verbal communication, which is your body language, it is one of the key factor in any type of communication. And in the coming videos, we will go into details that what are these three types of communication and how to control these three types of communication. Based on different studies, project managers, they are spending approximately 80 to 90% of their time only on communication, which means they are going through high-level meetings, presentations, they are talking to their team members, they are exchanging their ideas, they are receiving feedback, they are giving feedback to the team members. So all in all, communication is extremely important because, again, for the reason that you cannot just sit in your office and start making the plans and start giving orders to the team members. You must have to talk to the people, you must have to talk to your team members, exchange ideas, and as a result of that, you may be getting a lots of useful information, lot of useful analysis. Another reason that the communication is extremely important for any project manager, and that is the continuous involvement with the client or with the stakeholder. Initially, when you collect the requirements from the customer, then based on those requirements, you develop the plan and then you start the execution of the project. So let's assume that the project is going to take 2 years. Now that will not be a wise decision to just collect the requirements from the customer and then ask the customer that, okay, we will see you after 2 years once the project will be finished. Which means once the project will be finished after 2 years, and then you will call the customer that please come and have a look that we have just completed the building or the software, whatever the project was. And then the customer will come up with lots of feedback, with lots of changes, or maybe the customer will not accept the final product because customer was thinking something else and you have developed something else. And the reason could be the lack of communication, which means from day one till the last day of the project, you must have to keep the stakeholders, keep the customer involved. So you must communicate with all the information with the stakeholders. So that can include the weekly review meetings, site inspections, forecasting information. Which means when you are in the planning phase of the project, you will keep on updating your plans, you will keep on updating your work packages along the way. You don't have to wait for all of those 2 years and then you are getting the feedback from the customer side. So that is only possible if you are having a very good communication with the customer and with all other stakeholders. To ensure a very robust communication with all the stakeholders, one key document which you must have to develop as a project manager, and that is the communication plan. In the communication plan, you will write down all the details that which information will be developed at which phase of the project, which information will be sent to which stakeholder, what should be the contents of that information. So it contains lots of useful information that you will be using throughout the duration of the project, and the communication plan ensures that you are having a very concrete and comprehensive communication with all of the stakeholders. If you are not having a proper communication between you and the customer, between you and the stakeholders, or between you and your own team members, which means that you may be missing lots of useful information. Your team members can come up with some very good ideas, very useful analysis. Your customer may be giving you a very proper feedback about the requirements, about the work packages. And the senior management may be giving you a very useful information about the budget analysis, about the resources, or maybe there are some issues which are being faced by the organization. So if you are not communicating with all of these stakeholders, which means you will be missing lots of useful information, which will affect a lot all of your planning, all of your execution, especially the monitoring and controlling, all of your quality control, your budget forecasts. So based on my experience, communication is extremely important for any project manager. And poor communication will impact each and every area of your project. Whereas while having a good communication, you can get rid of lots of issues. For example, you will be able to identify as many risks as possible initially in the project. You may be able to define proper project constraints. You will get the feedback if you are facing any resource related issues. And most importantly, you will be able to understand the customer expectations. Because in many cases, it is possible that the customer is giving you missing requirements or ambiguous requirements. Requirements are not that much clear. So if you are not able to understand the expectations of the customer, which means you will not be able to understand those requirements as well. And to understand the expectations of the customer, it is only possible if you are having a proper communication with the customer and with the stakeholders. So the communication is one of the skills that every project manager must have. And I will see you in the next video with what is the next important skill the project managers should have. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel and don't forget to share this video.